Fantastic. So, Ashlinn, I was looking into your socials a bit more and I couldn't find like an accurate description about what your music is. And I listened to your single T-shirt. I really enjoyed it. But introduce yourself and what type of music you make.
Well, I consider myself a left pop musician, so musician and singer-songwriter. I like making music that I guess is popular. A lot of it is along the lines of singer-songwriter storytelling and just about everyday experiences and emotions that we're all going through. Um, I'm one of those songwriters that love journaling and singing through my emotions in order to get over things. So that's often the kind of attack that I have on making music. And I've been doing this for about just about 10 years, I want to say. And now I am located in the United States in California making music, but started out in South Africa, Joburg, around the age of 15.
So you've been doing music for 10 years already.
I know it's scary to say that.
Right? Like I'm in a similar boat to you. I've been doing it now for about 10, 12 years. And that passage of time is a bit scary when someone asks you, how long are you doing it? Oh no, like over a decade.
Don't say the word decade. That's even more terrifying.
It adds a bit of weight to it. It's actually terrifying.
It does, but at the same time, I kind of look back at how much has been done within those 10 years. And it's crazy to remember where I started, and I'm sure you feel the same way, where, all the information you didn't know versus now, it's like a completely different person.
And I'm sure you can also like as a musician, even with the wealth of knowledge that you have from those 10 years, you're still learning new things all the time. There's still new ways of approaching things. There's just a whole endless list of things to learn.
Of course. And I also find myself wanting to do more now because I think, it's a bit overwhelming starting for such a young age. And then now realizing, oh, you can actually do whatever you want. There's almost like this confidence level that comes into having knowledge and knowing you don't have enough knowledge in certain things, and kind of knowing that you can gain any knowledge that you want. You just need to want it enough and go out and do it.
No, definitely. Like you sort of learned that when you're starting out, you think you know everything. You think that
Oh yeah.
you've got a small amount, and it limits you. And as you grow, like, I agree with that 100%. You can choose what you would like to learn and where you can take it, because yeah, the roads are endless.
Of course. And the rules, there's like no rules at the end of the day. We try and confine ourselves by like these ideas that we think are concrete, and we really don't need to. And I think that's kind of the fun part of being a creative and experimenting. And I think you have to do that, especially after being in the industry for so long. You have to start experimenting and being playful.
Yeah, I think like music is an expression, like, and I think a lot of people get so caught up in trying to make something that is acceptable or like liked by the public instead of expressing what they actually want to express.
I think it's very difficult because you think you have to do that. You think you have to do what everyone likes. I think everybody experiences that.
Definitely. I think every musician has gone through that at some point. How did you end up in the States? Was it a move that you made based on music, or was it other factors that led you to move over?
I think it was kind of a mixture of both. I mean, as every musician kind of dreams about going to a place where, there's just an abundance of music. And, Los Angeles is kind of known as this hub for being a creative and being in the entertainment industry. So I always had that dream from a young age, and it kind of became a reality after coming a couple times, testing the waters and finding contacts. And that kind of just started this journey of me wanting to just try it out and see how it goes. I've always loved South Africa, and I never wanted to leave. But it just kind of happened that, pop music is a little bit more booming over here. And there's definitely a higher percentage of people listening to the music and being involved in the music on the side. And when the opportunity came for me to do the move, I couldn't say no and pass it up.
No, definitely. And how long have you been over in the States?
It's officially been about, I think, 3.5 years.
So it's actually still quite fresh. Like it's still like people would say 3 years is a long time, but when you're in an entire different continent, I think there's still a lot to.
If you compare it to all the other years that I've spent in South Africa, it's definitely a shorter amount of time. I still feel like I'm learning the city. I mean, it's a crazy city, never mind country. So it's very different yet similar, and I think that's a little bit of a mind, like it's a strange thing for the mind to kind of comprehend. I often find myself like in a conversation, and then I realize, oh, I'm actually in America. Things are a little different here. And it happens often, it's a frequent thing that happens.
When the differences are slight, that's where like it's uncanny, where it's sort of, oh, you forget.
Yeah, it definitely, it's funny because you find yourself with, like, obviously there's going to be the normal things of different slang and different ways of saying things, but then you also forget that culturally there's a big difference, and it comes up quite a bit in conversation, especially with new people that I meet.
What are the general reactions to people finding out that you're South African, especially like as an artist performing? And like, do you have interesting reactions at all, or?
It's always different. I mean, most of the time they never guess South African, so that's something that I deal with on a daily basis. It's always British or Australian. That's always the first reaction, and then when they do realize I'm South African, it's quite an exciting conversation because most people are intrigued by it. Obviously, the race thing is a big one. A lot of, I don't want to say every American, but a lot of people do think that most Africans and South Africans are darker in color, and they're right. So I can't expect them to think anything different. But it's a little bit of a teaching moment.
Yeah, there's definitely a stereotype for Africa in general. Let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah. So it's along with the idea that, oh, like pop music is quite big in South Africa, and then you start talking about our culture of just every South Africans are just so expressive, and once you start explaining how the music and creative and anything entertainment wise, like South Africans love entertaining and being entertained, and once you start kind of getting into that part of the conversation, it's always fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. Do you ever come back to South Africa? Do you ever come back and perform a couple of shows, or have you mostly stuck in the 3.5 years that you've been in the States? Have you mostly stuck there?
Well, I mean, 2 of the years were COVID years, so it's kind of difficult to answer.
That is a good point. I literally that hit me the moment I asked the question. Sorry, I was like, oh shit, wait, there hasn't been much traveling.
I actually, no, I had to travel during COVID. I have the craziest story. My visa was expiring, and the thing is, like, I didn't want to go and not be with my family during COVID because my family are based in Florida. So I didn't want to just have to go back to South Africa and stay there and not be with my family during COVID. So I went and renewed my visa. I stayed in SA for about 5 weeks and was on my way back, and I got stopped in Amsterdam. I got sent back to South Africa because
No.
they banned South Africans or anyone without a green card or citizenship to go through Amsterdam. So I had to go back to South Africa, quarantine for 2 weeks, and then go via Dubai, and then they allowed me in. It was the craziest story. I stayed in the airport for 2 days. I slept on a bench the one night. It was crazy.
That is unreal. And that was specifically
Yeah.
Amsterdam. So you had to literally.
Yeah, it was all the Schengen area.
You basically spent about 3.5 weeks just traveling to get back to the States.
Basically, yes. Yeah. Like I said all my goodbyes. It's obviously like it's emotional. You have to say goodbye twice. So that was part of it. I had to get extra COVID tests. It was a traumatic experience, but I wouldn't I actually wouldn't trade it for the world, because that experience, I kind of, you watch those movies and you see how people have to stay in the airport and you don't know what that feels like. I now know what that feels like, and I've got a little story under the belt now. So it was strange, fun, interesting, and emotional.
I think I'll add that to my list of things I'm glad I don't relate to.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Like, granted, I can sleep anywhere, but still, that's like I'm trying to imagine it.
Yeah, and then everyone in their hazmat suits walking around. I mean, it was creepy. The worst part, I'll be honest, the worst part was the airport I was in. The waters were just a normal, simple water was $5. is over 50 rand. So we're talking about
Yeah.
like almost 75, 80 rand, which is
Yeah.
crazy. I thought that was mad. But I needed to drink water. So, kind of just suck it up and pay your $5 for a water.
I don't know. I think at that point there, I'm heading for the bathroom taps.
Oh, no, never. No. I pick and fight my battles. I'd rather not eat than have at least clean water.
Valid point. I'm not gonna fault you on that one. I'm not gonna fault your choices there. And then like heading back a bit into your music, tell me a bit more about T-shirt.
So T-shirt was kind of like it was a song where I allowed myself to kind of fall into the idea of writing and singing about love. Throughout most of my career, I've been with my boyfriend, and I've always said, "Oh, I'm just so bad at writing love songs. I'd rather just write about, things that frustrate me or make me sad." And T-shirt actually did. It kind of falls in between, longing and that a little bit of sadness and hope, which are current themes that are always like going through my music. And it was a time where I allowed myself just to write a slow song and write whatever was on my heart. So it's a song about long distance love. And my boyfriend and I were doing long distance while I was in the States. He was in America. He was in South Africa. And then COVID happened, and we literally weren't allowed to see each other. There were so many travel bans. He was in London at that point working, and we didn't see each other for, I think it was 15 months. And the song kind of grew from that point. We got into the studio, they asked me what I was feeling, and I was just explaining, but life's pretty good right now, except for the fact that I don't have my boyfriend. And the idea of the song is all about when you really miss someone, you just want to wear their t-shirt, and that hope of, I know we're not together right now, but soon we'll be reunited and we'll be able to do all these things that we've been wanting to do, like go out and just go watch a movie together again. Simple things like that.
Or just spending time like in each other's
Yeah,
company.
just
Like,
spending time. Yeah. Because I mean, long distance, it does make the heart grow fonder, and you do miss just the simplest things like holding hands and laughing and annoying each other. Just those like little things that you take for granted every day.
No, definitely 100%. Like, and you can definitely hear it in the song because like it's like you said, it's a definite slowdown. There's a lot of like pauses, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of it's a really good song.
Thank you. I love the song. I think it's got such a special like piece of my heart in it, and it's kind of started opening myself up to just writing whatever's on my heart. Like sometimes I do want to be more that edgy pop artist, because there's a part of me that doesn't want to be the simple singer songwriter, but there's definitely a huge part of my personality that is that. But I do, like, if someone asks me what my favorite music is, I usually just say sad music, because I just want to feel. And I've kind of stopped myself from just writing songs that allow me to feel. So especially just like the bigger emotions that feel a bit heavier.
But like at the end of the day, we were talking about earlier is that music is an expression, and
Of course.
there's other aspects to you that you would like to express other than sad songs, or you
Yeah,
can do whatever you want. And do you and your boyfriend get to see each other?
exactly.
Do you and your boyfriend get to see each other more now? Is it at least now with the restrictions having eased up? I'm actually not sure about the States. I know South Africa has eased up quite a bit.
Yes, yeah. So he just moved in with me a month ago. So that's been a lot of fun. He's working as a chef out here in LA as well. So we're
Fantastic.
doing everything on our to-do list. A lot of cooking because we both love, we're big foodies. So it's kind of been like a full circle moment of, you know, writing the song and finally getting to like I say in the song, like I'm where I'll be waiting for him in his t-shirt inside out by the window. And now I actually get to live that, where we're together and, you know, hanging out again. It's really cool. So I think we have to write a song about that, about finally being back together.
It's such a cute story, and the fact that you guys pulled through, like it's not a you said it so casually, but it's not an easy thing to have pulled through. Like those situations can either make or break a relationship. And really, I'm so stoked for you and your situation that it worked out.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think, when you find your person.
And you got good potential content out of it, even better, like as an added bonus.
Oh yeah. I think we might have to do another long distance stint to get some more music out of it.
I'm pretty sure
Joking. Joking.
he's not gonna be stoked about
I got the eyes. Yeah, we're not going to say that again.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know exactly what you mean about the eyes because I've also done like long distance as well, but not to the extent that you have, like literally being on different continents, just in different provinces. And my now fiance also gives me the eyes every now and then when she hears me say something dodgy in one of these interviews.
It's a rite of passage. Like, you have to get it. You can't be perfect. You need to get a little bit of a slap on the head, bring you back down to earth.
You got to touch that nerve at some point, you know?
Yeah.
You were saying you've been doing
Mm.
music since you were 15.
Yeah, so my story kind of began out. I've always been into acting and drama, and I started acting around 8 years old and singing around 10. And I started singing because my sister, she was like a natural born singer who could sing perfectly on pitch and beautifully. And my mom always said she was singing before she was actually speaking, which is probably true. And once we both got into the acting and singing world, I was kind of like a bit jealous that I didn't have that natural singing talent. So I wanted to beat her at these competitions. Like, she would win gold medals and I wouldn't be in place. So I started working really hard on my voice. We would do vocal lessons once a week, and most kids don't want to practice when they go home, but I would practice as much as I could, and eventually my voice started getting better. And I've always been one of those like kids that sing random songs to themselves in the mirror while getting ready. So I guess that like creativeness was always there, and I was always good at like writing poetry in English. So I started putting that together and writing songs. And eventually my church band leader, Greg Jordan, was like, hey, we should actually write some songs together. And we started writing songs, and we wrote about 10 songs together, decided to put together an EP. And that's kind of where the career started. We decided to put it out, send it to a whole lot of radio stations. And what was funny about it was the Battleship song, which kind of broke my career. We weren't going to put on the EP. That was kind of like a last minute song that we threw in. And the reason why we threw it in was because my dad was like, look, you're not getting my support unless you put that song in, because I like that song. So we threw
You
the
got
song
dad to
in.
thank.
Dad, I mean, like, literally, my parents have done everything for me. They're the most supportive people. I wouldn't be where I am today without them. But we put the song out, and Wackhead heard the song. And he was like, hey, I want this on my breakfast show. So the song was released the first day on the breakfast show, and that really, it was such a huge part of my career, because everybody listens to Wackhead in the morning, or did when it was super popular. And
Wackhead is a name
it,
I haven't heard in a long time.
right, I mean, I'm
That's
trying
a,
to
that
actually
that
remember his real name.
Wackhead Simpson.
Wackhead Simpson, yes.
Yeah, it was something Simpson. Yes.
Yeah.
My God, like I'm just having a whole bunch of like flashbacks of like the early 2000s and 2010s. You know.
Yeah, it all of a sudden I was being asked to play smaller festivals, do a couple corporates, and you know it kind of solidified my space in the industry. And ever since then I've just been doing music. It's been I'm very lucky, I have to say. And I think often when preparation and opportunity meet together, that's when you get your big break. And for me, that was my big break in the industry, and I was lucky to have it at such a young age. So I started homeschooling because the music side was just taking up too much time. I was missing too much school. And yeah, 16 years old, I started homeschooling, finished school, graduated, and then stayed in South Africa till about 20, 21 years old. And now I've been living in the States.
And are you doing music full time in the States? So have you got? Is that like your full time? You either. God, I'm so tongue-tied. Is that your full-time job, essentially, doing music in the States, or are you doing something else to supplement your income, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I'm doing music full time in the States currently. So do a lot of songwriting. That's my main bread and butter. Love the songwriting side of things. And I mean, I've been a little quiet, and I know I have. At the end of the day, I've gone through a lot as well. It is hard moving to a new country and also going through the long distance with myself and my family. It was very hard, and I found it kind of like dampening on the creativity and also on the confidence to kind of push through that and put out music. So I've been a bit quiet on my Ashlinn Gray side, but I've been writing, and I'm really excited to put out some new music that I've been working on. It's quite. I think 2022 and 2023 are going to be big ones for myself and my project.
I'm so stoked to hear it. I'm really keen to see what comes up. And when you say songwriting, so are you songwriting for others, or is it something that you've been?
Yeah, so in the songwriting kind of space, there's a few different ways that you can work and be busy. So I've been songwriting for other people. I've also been songwriting for just projects that we hope will be put on to TV shows and movies. And I was really lucky with having a song that I put on. I was just featured on a rapper's song kind of a while ago, and a movie production company found it, and they really wanted it for the movie, and it happened to be Mark Wahlberg's Infinity? No, Infinite. It's called Infinite, and it was the last song on the movie, which was really cool. It's kind of like as the credits start rolling.
That's so cool, though.
It was really cool, and it's kind of interesting because I was originally on the song that I was on. I was actually the singer, and for the movie, they decided to use a different singer and a different rapper. So it was an interesting way in doing things that I didn't really know happened often, but it does in that side of the industry with doing songs for movies and TV shows. So yeah, that's the kind of like the space I've been focusing on, as well as writing for myself, but I haven't been putting out as much music. So I've got a whole bunch of songs I'm sitting on that I'm kind of ready to start pushing out into the world.
That's so cool though. And like, have you been performing live that side, or is that part of with the dampening of the spirits and the confidence thing where you've been going through the move and whatnot? Have you done any live performances that side?
I have, yeah. So I've been doing quite a few out here in LA. During COVID, it kind of stopped a bit, but we're back in the swing of things. I've actually got a show coming up in October at one of my favorite spots, which is Hotel Cafe. But yeah, I've been doing a few shows out here. I've still been performing all the songs I've been writing, which has been fun. I just haven't, being an artist is so funny because the creatives, you obviously have to be confident and know, your self-worth and know that you're good enough and the music that you're writing is good enough. But then there's also this part of you that has imposter syndrome, which I know a lot of people speak about, but it's so true. You think like, if maybe I'm delusional, maybe all of the people in my life have been telling me I'm good and I'm actually not, and they just don't want to hurt my feelings, or stupid things like that. I still, when I get on stage, I'm think, is my voice gonna actually come out when I step on stage today? Am I actually gonna hit the notes, or was I just thinking I could do it while practicing? So it's a big part of it.
It's good to know that someone who has, for their 2019 Wrapped, hit 61,000 streams and 15,000 over, or nearly 16,000 listeners feels that way, because it's something that I think a lot of artists struggle with. And those numbers are impressive. Like, how did that make you feel?
You know what? It actually doesn't feel impressive at all. Like I'm just speaking like honestly right now. It feels like I think the problem is you compare yourself to everyone, especially being in the States. It's been an interesting thing because I did American Idol, and I got through to Hollywood Week, which means you didn't see me on the TV. I think you saw me in the crowd once. But I did American Idol, and I have all these friends that I did it with, and to see their careers blossom so much ahead of mine, it's been a really interesting kind of self-reflection moment where you're like, yeah, those numbers sound cool, but look at the other people that I was with and look how much they're getting. I think, in the perspective of you saying it sounds big, I'm like, I guess, yeah, if you have to think about all those people sitting in front of me listening to that song right now, that's a lot of people. So it's kind of nice that you said that. But when I did see it, I was kind of unimpressed with myself. And disappointed in myself, to be honest.
It's understandable though, because as an artist, it's inevitable. You're going to compare yourself, and as much as people tell you you should, focus on your achievements, it's really hard as an artist to not look at other people who started at more or less the same time as you, or you know, seem to have not done as much work, even though that's not the case. It can be very demoralizing. It can be very demotivating, and it's something that's so hard to work through as an artist.
Yeah, and I think everybody feels it. I think the highest people feel it. Someone like Adele or like Billie Eilish, even I think they all feel that exact same thing on a different level. But that feeling of, man, I could have done so much more, but you can't go back and you can't have regrets. So, I've just kind of used it as a motivation at this point to push myself forward. And there's no better motivation than the word no, or oh, like, you didn't get as many numbers. Sorry for you. I'm just seeing it as motivation at this point. But it is nice for someone to say, oh, you do actually have a lot of plays on a song. And if you put it into perspective, yeah, it was interesting having you say that and saying it was a lot.
Like I think it's largely to do with sludge in general. We deal with artists of any caliber. So the whole concept of sludge is to give South African artists a platform to talk about their music, irrespective of size, genre, anything. It's a platform for artists to speak. And you deal with guys who are in so many different phases of their musical journey and their career, that you kind of learn to look at, how do I say, like the picture. I don't think realistically is the right word, but I hope you can see what I'm getting at. You see so many different walks of life. You see so many different people in so many different phases, and the amount of work that they've put in, and hearing them talk about it, what they consider an achievement and what they don't. And it's so interesting to have like those different perspectives. And, especially from people in different, places, different sizes, different audiences. And it can be humbling and like motivating at the same as well.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I love that you guys do that as well. I mean, I think it's so important because, there's so much music that is brilliant out there that no one gets to hear because people aren't given the opportunity. And it's so great to hear that you guys do that and you give artists that platform. I love that. So thank you for doing that for the community. I really appreciate it.
It's really no problem. Nasipa would have been the first person you spoke to. We are just absolute fanboys of anything South African music. We we just do it for the love of
great.
It is.
It's wonderful. We have so much talent in our country. It's crazy.
And like I spoke to a guy named Wade Flowerday the other day, who's a photographer in the music scene, and he said something that sort of struck a chord with me. And he was like, he's tired of people saying they're good for South Africans. Oh wow, they're almost like they could be international quality, and it's not it shouldn't be seen that way. Like South African artists are good by their own standard. Like you said, this country is full of so many talented individuals who've even gone over and made like successes of themselves in other countries. It is an international standard because by our own standard, they are really good. So what makes them not like, you get where I'm coming from?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I remember in the beginning of my career, people were like, oh, she's South African. And I was like, yeah, but everyone that we're listening to on the radio right now, like there's very few that you can tell the difference between, and usually it's just the style and the genre. That's often what really separates us. I don't think quality separates us. I think we like to almost
the mindset.
Yeah, exactly. It is a mindset. It is definitely a mindset, and I think it's slowly changing. I do think it's slowly changing, and I do think people are realizing, especially with the internet growing at the rate that it is, that there really isn't that much of a difference wherever you're based, like country-wise. It means nothing on the larger spectrum and in the bigger picture.
And tying back to something you said earlier, South Africans are incredibly expressive. They're incredibly like you know, out there. And it comes through in the music that they make as well. It's they have energy, they have drive, they have because it's so much harder to make a name for yourself in South Africa. They're working on that hard mode.
Yeah. And I must say, like, South Africans are known for just being hard workers in general. Whenever I speak to people on this side, they always note that South Africans are always expressive, friendly, and hardworking. And that, like, it's just a testament to it because there's a lot of countries I want to say that don't get their names put out into the entertainment scene, and we have a lot of South Africans that are global, and it's just a testament to the fact that the talent's there, the quality's there, the standards there. It's just a matter of opening your mind up to it and realizing that, you know, it's much of a muchness between us.
In terms of the shows that you've played over, well, let's actually just say in terms of South Africa and in the States, what are your favorite shows that you've played? You said you played some of the smaller festivals in South Africa, or I'm not sure if you played any of the bigger ones. You said the smaller ones were in the beginning when you got invited with your song being played by Wackhead. What shows have been your favorite on both sides in terms of South Africa and in the States?
So I mean, the singer songwriter in me loves the intimate gigs where you can't hear anything but a pin drop in the silence because everybody's listening and engaged. So those are some of my favorite shows to play. So I've done quite a bit of them, like I said, at Hotel Cafe and back in SA, the farmers markets, I have to say, was so much fun because everybody, like, it's not like they're there for you, but when you know that they're enjoying it and they start interacting with you, it is so much fun. And then, with the bigger shows, like I played Lucido Land, which was crazy. That was probably my biggest show to date. And I did that. It was soon after my songs came out, so it's quite an experience being such an amateur pro, like because they call you a pro at that point because you're on a big stage at a festival, you have a band, so you're technically a pro, but I didn't feel like that. So it was a little bit overwhelming, but so much fun. And probably one of my favorite parts of that show was that someone proposed during one of the songs I sang.
Oh,
So that was
that's so
crazy
sweet.
cool.
What song
Crazy
was it?
cool. I actually wasn't singing one of mine. I sang a cover of Ed Sheeran's "Thinking Out Loud." So it was perfect. It was literally perfect. Like that's one
Oh,
of my
that's
favorite
so
songs.
cute.
I wish I wrote it because it's the most perfect love song. And it happened and everybody kept quiet so that he could do it. I mean, this is a festival. Someone's proposing at a festival. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Like, did you know it was going to happen, or did you just kind of interact with the moment as it happened? Like, did you see this happening and call it out? What was like?
That's what happened. I saw it happening. People were like almost making space for them. So I was like, what's going on? And then I looked and obviously it was happening right in front of me and I was singing to them at that point. And then afterwards, kind of congratulated and the crowd went wild for them, which was so amazing for them to have such a impactful moment. Like obviously it's huge for them, but for them to have impacted so many other people around them was so cool.
That's so cool. Credit to you, like for just flowing with that moment, because that's the mark of like an artist is just flowing through things as they come, engaging with the crowd, engaging with making a moment as it comes up.
I mean, that's what you got to do. I'm like one of those artists that'll change the lyrics of songs if I see something happening in front of me and I want to like just get involved. As a songwriter, you kind of can't pass up the opportunity to do that. So it obviously played out in that situation more in actions rather than writing or singing. But I think a lot of artists when they're creative and then there's a moment happening, we're kind of used to just jumping around. And I saw that you're also a musician, so you get that if someone's going to play a wrong chord and go into a chorus when you're supposed to be in a verse, we go with the flow. We do what we need to do.
Exactly.
That's part of the
Musician 101. Do not stop playing. Do not stop.
Exactly. Or like when you're acting, you always have to say yes, right? So when someone throws a new idea to you, you say yes and you never say no. So it's like that idea of, okay, yeah, what else? What else are you going to throw at me? Let's do it. The flow is on.
Like that's the thing about being an artist, though. Mistakes are inevitable. Like, and it's how you deal with them that shows your experience. Like, mistakes are going to happen. Like, stuff ups are going to happen. Like, you're going to forget a part. Something's going to happen, but you make the best of it. You turned it into a moment.
Of course, I think that's what's really cool about being creative is that perfection isn't actually the goal. It's never really the goal. Like obviously, there's a part of us that wants to have like the perfect song and everything must be perfect, but it's never going to reach that. So it is more just about being playful and seeing what comes out and then just making it of a quality that you're proud of putting out there, whether it's live recording, just on the writing side.
I think if everything is too perfect, it's sterile. Like there's not,
Of course.
there's no, if it's absolutely perfect, there's no emotion behind it. There's no feeling because like at the end of the day, we're none of us are perfect. It's not, like you said, it's not supposed to be perfect. It's
Yeah, and I think like more people are leaning towards the less perfect artists and songs. We kind of like when a vocal is a little scratchy, or when someone messes up, we like find that relatable. I think like we're just more. I think the world is more open to people just being themselves and just being great at what they are. Um, and that means that there's not going to be perfection. And I think that's so cool that kind of like our lens at looking at creatives and entertainment and just things that we like has kind of shifted, I want to say, especially through COVID. I've just kind of seen a shift in that.
no, definitely. Like, and one thing I can safely say, like, with the South African music scene wasn't doing too great before COVID hit, and especially I'm based in Durban, and like a lot of people refer to Durban as like the biggest small town because the music scene here is it's not great. But after COVID, like that whole absence makes the heart grow fonder thing. There's so many more people,
Mm.
like the engagement, the people, the turnout to shows, to everything, even here in a town that is supposedly dead for it. Like the turnouts have been incredible. Yeah.
It's great. I'm so happy to hear that because I know so many artists and musicians really took a hit during COVID in SA. I mean, out here, we were able to stay afloat even though it was hard. But in South Africa, some people actually had to stop doing what they love. And I thought that was like probably one of the worst things that could happen to the industry. But I'm so happy to hear that it's doing so much better. And hopefully I can come out there and perform sometime. I have my heart set on doing that. So it's just making the plans to make it happen.
I'd be stoked to see you come play this live. Like it would be fantastic.
Yeah. I've never done a Durban show, so I feel like I should do that now. That's on the list.
Hopefully by the time you come down, it's up and running again. Like it's back. It's it's better than it was.
I hope so too.
What are your? So you said you've got a couple of songs you've been writing throughout the city, even though that you've been quiet in terms of like the music that you've been releasing. You've been writing, you've been performing new songs. What are your plans in the future? You're going to be releasing an album? Are you looking at releasing some singles? What are your plans going forward?
Yeah, so right now I'm looking at doing the single route that everyone's doing. So a couple singles will be coming out soon, as well as kind of just doing some more live performance because I've missed that. So I'm wanting to put together, a few shows everywhere, not just in my little bubble of Los Angeles. I'm wanting to do a few out in SA and kind of just move around the states as well a little bit. I haven't explored too much of that musically. I've just visited a few states for fun, but I'd like to do it on a more of a musical scale and kind of just do what I love doing, which is like making noise and talking about feelings in a melody.
No, that's great to hear. I really, all the best. Like, it sounds like you're so passionate about it, and that the fact that you get to do it full time, I am envious of that, and I'm really stoked to see what you do and what you come out with.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. I obviously I've gone through times where it's hard. It's hard being a creative, and money isn't always there, and you kind of just have to make it work. And it's one of the hardest things to do. And I know so many people go through it when they want to follow their passion, and it's just not working realistically with living and finances. I think it eventually happens for the people that are passionate about it and work hard at it. And I'm still in that process right now of just trying to figure it out. And I know that if there's anything that that people get from listening to today is that, you know, your passion is everything, and eventually things figure themselves out. So consistency is always key. Like I've been telling myself that for the past 2 years, is that just being consistent, something will happen, and working hard at it. So that's something that, you know, I'm going through, and I hope that other people just like get a little bit of a reminder that, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to figure it out, and keep doing what makes you happy and is your passion, because at the end of the day, that's what people are drawn to, and that's what's going to help you get over the hump and maybe do it full time, or even just like burst out. And it doesn't matter if it's not music, or if it's, you know, something as silly as DIYing, which I love. You know, there's always a will and a way. Yeah.
That is some absolutely solid advice. And definitely words to live by. That consistency, it can make the world of difference. And it can be demotivating to work constantly. And yes, it might be luck based, but if you aren't working consistently, you're narrowing the chances of luck actually hitting you.
Yeah, of course. And, you know, then if you shut yourself in the foot, then you might as well give up, you know. Like rather give yourself the best foot forward to step on, you know, and just you know, just try every day, even if it is like they say, you know, 5 minutes a day is better than doing it once a month for 10 hours. It's just that little bit of effort every day that I think just takes people to the next level in whatever they're doing.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Everything is steps, small steps.
Yes. Yeah.
One foot in front of the other.
It's about the bigger picture. It's a bigger picture, but like all the little steps in order to get to that point.
In closing, where can people find your music? Where can people find you on your social platforms? Where are you most active?
So currently I'm most active on Instagram, but you know what? TikTok, I've been making it feel a little left out. So I'm gonna start doing some more on there and just kind of like having a bit of fun. I'm gonna start putting out a few of the little snippets of some of the stuff I've been writing, teasing a few little ideas. So TikTok and Instagram, go for it. And obviously my music's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you feel like listening to it.
I have a massive TikTok addiction, and I'm going to follow you right now.
Rad. I will follow you back.
I spend an ungodly amount of time on this app and creating content.
Yeah, they say that most people, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were saying that most people have noticed a decline in all other social media apps other than TikTok. TikTok is the only one that's gone up in the past 2 years. So that's crazy.
And especially for musicians, actually, especially for artists. Like I've discovered a lot of new music through TikTok, and a lot of artists and just people like even small, like independent guys, you know, like I've discovered music created by someone who has 300 followers and been absolutely blown away by the quality of the music that they've produced. Or I found a band the other day where it was just like the most mind-boggling quality of music, and it had under 1,000 views on YouTube. I was like, damn, this is unbelievable. So I spend way too much time on this
So
app.
great for that. Yeah, but it's so worth it, especially when you find those little nuggets of gold. Oh, it's also very teachable. Like you can learn so much on TikTok. It's so funny because my family is huge into TikTok, even my mom and dad. And we send each other at least 10 TikToks a day.
I think my fiance has about 30 unread, like unseen, because I just spam her indefinitely.
Oh, yeah. We have just a TikTok WhatsApp group where we literally just share TikToks.
That's great. That is great. I always find like TikTok isn't like hilarious in the sense of like it's always the dumbest shit that I post that does well.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just
because it's the stuff that we don't think is entertaining, but it actually is. Like if you find yourself chuckling just a little, someone else is going to find it hilarious.
yeah, it's great. I love it. I have a problem. I'm not gonna lie, actually. And so back to in closing after like that detour. Usually what we do is when we close out an episode, we close out with a song from the artist of their choice. What song would you like us to close out on? What song would you say captures the essence of your music, or is a good diving point into your music as a creator?
it's something where it's got a little bit of my heart in it, and why not let listeners kind of dive into Ashlinn Gray with listening to a song that's got the most recent piece of my heart. So t-shirt it is.
Got your picture in my jacket. I know the distance between us is so hard. Look around my apartment, and there you are, there you are, there you are. Used to you just being down the street. Now you're half a world away from me. Baby, we don't need to talk about our feelings. Don't think we already know that it's a real thing. I'll be waiting for you by the window in your t-shirt inside out. I think about all your freckles, connecting them like all the stars in the dark. I'm just staring at the ceiling. There you are, there you are, there you are. I keep wishing you were next to me, but you're still half a world away from me.